Hey everybody, welcome to this week's episode of the Patty G Show. We are sitting down with David Day, talking about marketing, talking about communication styles, and Ronald McDonald, believe it or not. All this to come in the latest episode of the Patty G Show. As always, we are inside the Velocity Partners Group studio each and every week. And another big thank you to our wonderful partners in the community, Lake Men's Health, Valaya Real Estate, and PB&J Productions. Enjoy the show. Since '95, what's the origin story?
Yeah.
How'd you get started? You said a little bit about you were with McDonald's firsthand and then split. So what's the the first job?
The first job, other than cutting grass.
Yeah.
The first job I had was cleaning out a kennel at a veterinarian's office here in Baton Rouge, doing yard work, that kind of stuff. And then I got a job at what used to be called Godshaw's. Remember the old Godshaw's?
Yep.
Excuse me. And I worked there in the men's collegiate department, and then I started, believe it or not, yes, I was a model for TV and print for Godshaw's back in the day.
Okay.
I'm really old.
Can we find a photo of you on Godshaw's, like an archived photo or something?
I have tried to find it. I can't find anything. I mean, it was.
Well, it was print ads.
I'm sure
for someone to then get it and digitize it and republish
it. The fun
it.
part is the TV stuff.
Yeah, like there's none of those ads or anything on YouTube anymore.
So all the way through college, I was doing that. Just kind of, they'd call me and I'd show up, right? But my regular job was radio. I worked in radio broadcasting. Went to Baton Rouge High, was WBRH staffer, and then KLSU, and then flew around the city doing traffic reports morning and afternoon. Worked for Metro Info Services. And I was Dave Riley on the air for a morning show, Extra Light 94.1 out of Macomb, Mississippi.
So Dave Riley was your radio name?
That was my radio name.
Where did that come from?
Why did you have a radio name? Yeah, people ask that because I thought I was going to be famous.
Okay.
I thought I was going to be famous, Patrick. I thought, I'm going to have this pseudonym because I don't want everybody bothering me, right? Now we want people bothering us. We actually do TikToks so people will bother us. That's just the way. We were stupid.
We do to a point.
We were just dumb kids. Just go ahead and do whatever. But
yeah.
Did that.
Dave Riley.
Dave Riley. Yeah. I don't know where it came from. I mean, there was this guy selling batteries on television, and he was his name was Riley, and he would say, put the battery and dare you to knock the battery off his shoulder, kind of thing. I don't remember what it was back in the day. I just thought that was cool, and they said, hey, are you going to use your real name? And I said, why wouldn't I use my real name? And they started saying, well, some people don't use their real name. And I'm like, are they in witness protection? What's the deal? So I thought, I'm Dave Riley. And it just flowed, Dave Riley.
Yeah, that's flow.
David Day's a great name, though. You should use that name. So,
yeah, or Dave Day.
Yeah.
Well, I guess Dave Day doesn't roll off as well as Dave Riley.
Yeah.
You want something that like pops up a little bit, right? Dave Day is just the same.
Riley. Yeah. You can hear it very clearly, Dave Riley. But haven't been Dave Riley in, 40 years.
Well, I guess back at that time when they were printing, the phone books, they didn't want you to start looking up, David Day in the phone book to figure out where you were.
Yeah, right. We would actually get some fan mail, if you want to call it that. It's mostly hate mail. And then it was some weird stuff, too. But
what were you doing to garner the attention of haters at the time?
Well, I was the comic relief.
Okay,
I was the comic relief. We had Brock and Sarah, who were the real hosts of the show, and I was the phone in, the traffic report comic relief. I'd call in 10 minutes before the traffic report, and I would do the off-site comedy and voices and just do some goofy stuff.
Got it.
It was a lot of fun back in the day when. I'd get canceled for more than half of what I used to do now. If I did it today, I'd get canceled. Absolutely.
So was it a comedic traffic report, like before the real traffic report, or like I'm still trying to picture like what this segment is. What's the bit?
So they would break to the traffic report, and then I would come up. I would be doing a shtick. I would be doing some kind of a shtick, some kind of a voice or some kind of something I'd heard, and just doing my own take on it. And then they would just banter back and forth with me, and then right toward the end, and Brock he was the DJ, the announcer, whatever you want to call him. He'd kind of keep me on track. He'd go like 20 seconds, Dave. I'm like, okay, so we better get to traffic now.
Yeah, all right. I guess I better give you the actual report.
That's right. Yeah, so it was fun. Those were good days.
Very cool. So you have the fun time in radio enough to garner some haters, which is like the real success,
Sure,
right? When
just a
people
few.
start hating on you,
Just a few haters.
you've done well.
Right, that's right. Graduated from LSU, broadcast journalism at the Manship School, and started working in radio sales because I wanted to go in the advertising world. And Gerald Garrison, who eventually hired me, he was a friend of mine from church, and he said, hey, you really need some sales experience. So I worked for WBIU in Denham Springs, AM radio station, selling radio for $1 a holler. And
$1 a holler?
$1 a spot, yes, sir. $1 per spot.
For a 30-second spot or a minute spot?
30-second spot.
Okay.
Yeah. There's some really, I got a story in my book about that, but had some really good old school sales managers who taught me, radio and media sales. And more than anything, though, it was about showing up, doing your work, taking your lumps, being the low man on the totem pole, working late, doing what you have to do. And I got this call from Garrison Advertising. They said, hey, we need a meeting. I'm like, great, because he handles McDonald's, and I'm going to go sell him some radio for McDonald's. McDonald's wouldn't even consider us without a 3 rating, and we didn't even scratch that.
What's a 3 rating?
A rating point?
Yeah.
So it's 1% of the audience that's listening to the radio station at any given time. Let's just say that's an oversimplification, but that's 1 rating point. Okay. 1% of all the listeners in radio, you got 1%. That's 1 rating point at that 15-minute time period. And so average quarter-hour ratings and stuff like that back in the old Arbitron days. So they couldn't really buy us. But I'm like, maybe, I didn't know that. I didn't work at McDonald's yet or work for the agency yet. So I go and try to pitch my deal, and Gerald Garrison says, wait, I don't want to buy your station. I can't buy your station. I want to hire you. And I said, oh, okay.
So you thought it was an interview to purchase a spot?
I thought it was a business meeting to pitch my stuff, and he would buy radio spots for McDonald's for us. And
they were like, stop selling for someone else.
He said, stop, I want to hire you. So that was my first job, $16,500 a year.
Heck yeah.
I was okay, let's learn this. Let's go. Let's learn it.
And so who were you selling to for all that?
At the agency?
Yeah, well, you mentioned McDonald's. Was McDonald's your main client?
It was probably 50 to 60% of all of my work. I worked with the local GMC truck group while I was there. I worked with consumer credit counseling. I worked with various retail outlets. And I would bring on business, too. One of my favorite ones was PC Warehouse back in the day, the old computer company on Sherwood Forest. They opened and launched, and I called on them, and they hired me, and Robbie Miller and his wife Donna became friends, and they stayed with me even when I made the move and started my own shop. I didn't even tell them I was leaving. I wanted to be, when I left the agency to start my own, I didn't call any of the clients. I didn't try to, pull anybody over. I just said, hey, I feel like I need to start this on my own and on my own merit, and I did. And a few weeks later, they called me and they said, hey, we want you to come pitch the business. And they were putting their account up for review. So I pitched against 3 or 4 other agencies, and I won.
There you go.
Yeah.
So you're working for this agency, doing traditional media marketing placement, billboard, print, all that stuff at the time when you first started?
That's right.
Okay.
Yep.
And how long were you doing that before you kind of had this pull to start your own thing?
It was about 5 years in.
That's early.
Yeah, I was about 5 years in, and I was going to the co-op meetings in Shreveport and in Monroe and in Baton Rouge, and the agency handled at the time well over 100. I can't remember what the exact number was, but well over 100 restaurants across 3 co-ops. We had also started a kind of a side venture where we would produce our own creative materials and sell it to other co-ops around the country. And so I was, I guess you could say I was in charge of that. And so I was writing and conceiving creative materials to sell McDonald's products and trying to sell that nationwide to other co-op and McDonald's owner-operators across the country with Charlie's backing and his influence and his contacts. So I was a copywriter, account executive, account supervisor, doing a little bit of everything.
Mm-hmm.
We had a fantastic creative team at Garrison back then, and Gerald is best pitch man I've ever worked with. He's phenomenal. He is just fantastic in a room, and I learned a lot just watching him and being with him. Learned a ton from Charlie Veluzzo about McDonald's and business, as we'd talked about with, business advice and, just how to treat people and how to, run the business and not let it run you, that kind
Which
of
is
stuff.
tough.
Yeah.
Especially now.
Yeah, no doubt. And so, yeah, about 5 years in, I started getting the itch. So at the 6-year mark, I made the jump.
How did they take it?
It wasn't smooth. It wasn't smooth. It is now. It's great.
Yeah.
But it wasn't smooth. I think I learned a ton. It was a massive transition in my life. I was married, been married a few years, 2 years. This was before we had our first child. And so I was setting myself up for the rest of, for that phase, right? And so I was excited, and I wanted to do right by my former employer, stepping out on my own, not trying to take any business away, and I think God honored that. So we did well. And we're doing well, and we're 30 years old now, so keep on cranking on.
So what was the intent, to create kind of a very similar entity in and of itself, or go in a different path they didn't want to, right? So like when you look at, you've got W-2 employees that become entrepreneurs for one reason or another, whether it's they never see themselves being able to have a piece of the pie of the organization they're within, or they want to do things in a different way than the organization is doing and know their voice is not going to sit well at the suggestion box.
Yeah.
Or there's some form of, I got to leave. It's not working for hours, clients, XYZ, whatever it is, it's not fitting for me anymore, and I've got to go do something else.
Yeah. I think it was more of just kind of banging my head on the ceiling. I don't want to say I was outgrowing it, because there's always something to learn.
Of course.
But of the things that I was responsible for doing, I felt like I had done it, and I was kind of itching for the next challenge. A couple of things had come up and did not materialize for me. And I had gotten some calls from some other McDonald's firms who wanted to talk, and I think they had a hand in convincing me of my value in the marketplace. And so I was convinced I'm never going to get it here. Charlie was helpful too, and helped me to understand and to see. I mean, he actually offered me the opportunity to go to work for him directly and be Ronald McDonald.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a.
How do you turn that down? I mean, it's quite a uniform to wear.
Yeah, it is, and it was really good money, because he said, I will double what you make.
Okay.
And I'll pay for everything, and you can pretty much make your own schedule, but you will have to work weekends and do birthday parties and all that stuff for me. And when you're not working for me, I'm going to rent you out to others. And so I'm going to send you to Ronald School in Oak Brook, Illinois for 2 months. You're going to learn how to sing, dance, do magic tricks, and run birthday parties. And then I'm going to buy you a trailer and a truck, and you're going to pull that trailer, and you're going to go to wherever I tell you to go. And it sounded exhausting to me. Although I can sing a little, dance a little, and have fun, and I love kids and all that, I just was like, I've got my own family I want to try to, be with. And giving up my weekends, that means, no more golf, no more.
And the magic tricks, I'm sure, was a little bit of a challenge.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I don't know much sleight of hand, but yeah, I thought it was a really great compliment, but just not the right thing for me. And so I ended up turning that down and going to start my own shop.
Very cool. And what was that first week in the office?
It was, what do I do now? Fortunately, my wife was gainfully employed, so we had food on the table, no kids yet, but a spare bedroom. So I had $3,000 saved up. So I bought a fax machine. I had a phone line installed in the spare bedroom. I bought a new computer from PC Warehouse and set it all up and began to call everybody I knew to tell them I'm starting my own thing. Called every sales rep, called called every client prospect that I had been working on before, and started to try to, but didn't call any of my former agency's clients at all, and just let everybody know what I was doing, and said, hey, I'm throw me a bone. I want I'll just do some copywriting or whatever, and slowly. I say slowly, within about a month or so, I got a call from a sales rep who said, hey, I just met with a client that really needs somebody. They don't have a lot of money, but you said you would throw you a bone. Well, it's a bone. And so
it's not a big bone, but it's a bone nonetheless.
Not a big bone. So I drove to White Castle.
Yep.
And met with the Pierre Park store. I
No.
think it was the Pierre Park store. I guess that was in Pierre Park, right? Not
Yeah. The Pierre Park General Store. I know it very well.
Do you really?
Absolutely.
Well,
We used to stop there every time we would we had a camp down in Morgan City.
Really?
And every time we would go down to the camp in Morgan City, we would stop at the Pierre Park store.
Perfect.
And
Yes.
I have a Pierre Park coffee mug in my house.
Nice. I love it. That's cool. Yeah, I walked in the door and I didn't even know who. I mean, they were speaking French, Cajun French. And I'm like, and then she said, somebody came back, they could speak English, and so I didn't get that business either. But my first account that I got was a guy who was starting a pest control company, and the sales rep had recommended him. So it was called Sapco, SAPCO, Sapco Pest Control, $10,000 budget. I thought I was flying high.
For the year?
Period. Yeah, for the year, forever.
Oh, that was it.
$10,000
With money ran out, they weren't
$10,000
advertising.
Until I need some revenue. I could spend more money if I start making money, but right now I have $10,000 devoted to advertising. So what can you do to help me? So we ran some TV spots for him and some radio spots for him.
That's a pretty big budget, actually.
In 1995,
he
got calls, and he said, okay, let's spend about $1,500 a month continually. So I had them going, and then PC Warehouse called, and I got them, and so that was a few months later, I guess. So that's what got me started, and then I went to LSU and got an intern, Anthony Vacris, my first intern. Shout out to Anthony. Went on to own his own ad agency in Atlanta. So good for him.
Very cool.
I think he's maybe in DC now. I can't remember. We're still Facebook contacts, but he and I put together a pitch and working around the clock in my spare bedroom, and we went and won the business. And that was 30 years ago.
And so at the time you were doing everything: copyright, media buying, media placement. You were an ad agency.
Yeah.
You weren't what folks think of now as like a marketing firm where they're helping you create the content and then you post it. You were no, we're going to come in with your business. We're going to create everything. We're going to place everything, buy everything, and take care. We're your marketing department. Yeah,
and that was the thing back then. It was a full service advertising agency scenario where you could have anywhere from 3 or 4 people to 15 or 20.
Right.
And so and I've seen over time the agency business will swell to everybody wants the big agency that's got a lot of resources, and then they'll shrink back to the boutique kind of shop. And that kind of all that rhythm is kind of gone by the wayside now with digital media. A lot of folks are now just digital marketing or not. Some do both, but integrated advertising firms are the big ones now, the ones that do traditional and digital media and creative content and PR and whatever. Those are the big ones now, and at least in this area, those are the big ones.
Right.
So what I did was I kind of went the opposite direction. After 30 years, well, really back in 2017, I went to work for a mortgage company as their full-time marketing director. And, that lasted about 1.5 years, and then I came back into, starting over again. Same kind of scenario. Upstairs, bonus room, created an office out of it, started making phone calls, started doing just small projects, copywriting to rebuild my agency. Never really wanted to rebuild it the same way because the world had changed. The world was changing quickly, and that was right before COVID. So I started the work from home project right before COVID started.
So why'd you close it down in 2016, you said?
Yeah, I actually, I downsized. I had as many as 11 or 12 staff people at one point.
It's a pretty good size ad agency.
Yeah, in Baton Rouge, pretty good size. Yeah. And I found myself really frustrated with the fact that I really want to be in advertising, but what I am is a manager.
Hey, you're become a glorified babysitter.
I'm a business manager.
Yeah.
And I had a great team of people, and I did not handle that well. I learned that you really do have to understand and practice and study and really be a manager on purpose. You cannot manage by accident because you'll suck. And I did. And I had a staff that was great. They were very patient with me. They taught me a lot about what I wasn't doing well. I just never took the time I was always looking for the next account because I had to feed them, you know? So I constantly had to work for the agency and keep the fires burning. And it was, if the pipeline's not full, then nothing else works.
Right.
So I couldn't really take time to learn how to manage. I just kind of did it on the fly. And today I have solutions for that. Today I can coach another firm, another business, and help them with those solutions. There are solutions, there are answers to that. There are ways to fix that problem. But I was in that situation and I didn't see a way out. So what I did was I downsized. I purposefully downsized the firm to where I had just the key people on staff and I outsourced everything else. And I became really, really good at outsourcing work, whether it was creative work or, you know, some of the office stuff or whatever it might have been. I became really good at that. And by the time I got into a real nimble place where it was funny, my volume was smaller because I couldn't handle the same size of accounts, but my profit margins were greater and the quality was up. So I was able to take home the same amount or more with less headache and a little bit less pressure and stress at home because I'm smaller. I only have 3 people to manage now, not 11.
Yeah.
And then some outsourcing stuff. So it worked out well for me. And at the right time, a friend called a friend who called me and said, hey, you need to talk with this guy. And he offered me a spot running their marketing at Assurance Financial, the mortgage company. Mm-hmm. And so I took that opportunity and jumped on it. And it was the right time, the right job at the right time for me, you know. And looking back, I can see I was pretty burned out, you know, of the agency thing because I had really busted it for, 22 years.
Yeah.
And I was ready for a change, and I learned a ton at Assurance. And then when I re-engaged back in the agency world, it has paid off huge dividends for me because what I learned, I was able to articulate and I was able to sort of monetize with my client base. Yeah. So that's been the best part about it, I think. You know.
Well, and you get put into a tight spot or a challenging situation if you're growing that firm from the get-go, right? Because you got into doing that type of work, that line of work, because you liked that line of work.
Yes.
It's not necessarily that you liked running a company that did that line of work. It's you liked actually being involved, right?
Right.
The copywriting, like
Exactly.
sitting there and copywriting or sitting there and assigning copywriting are 2 different roles.
Sure.
And
Right.
as an entrepreneur, when you get started in an organization and you're the one person, you're the one-man shop, one-woman shop, whatever it may be,
Yeah.
you get to do all the things. But then you have all this administrative side that not many folks like to handle. So then they either bring on a strategic partner or they outsource and they focus on it.
Yeah.
And then as you start to grow and you add team and you expand your bandwidth, you quickly realize that you've grown to a size. I mean, when you get to the double digits of employees,
Yeah.
you don't really have a whole lot of time yourself to be in on the projects.
That's right. That's
You've
exactly
got to
right.
have your weekly or your daily check-in with folks and say, what do we have going on? Do you have any big questions?
Yeah.
Right.
And
all
see,
the details go away.
And I never realized that. That's the fun part. Here I am running this agency, and I never realized that my role had shifted. Mm-hmm. I kept hiring these phenomenal people, and I didn't empower them quite enough to do what they do best or equip them quite enough. And they did a phenomenal job. But I could have done so much more. I know that now, hindsight, right?
Right.
But I never shifted my role. Had I shifted my role and said, I accept the fact that I'm no longer in the advertising business, I'm in the management business, I could have killed it because I would have spent my time managing and learning. But I wanted to be with my clients. I wanted to dream with them. I wanted to help my clients achieve their goals. Mm-hmm. And so as I began to start downsizing, and as I began to do more and more time, spend more and more time with the client themselves, I realized I really like that. And I'm really good at that. That's actually one of the things that I do better than anything else. And I don't miss the management piece of it at all. And so when I restarted in 2019, I was perfectly fine restarting with just me and the client. So I basically studied up and became a fractional chief marketing officer. So I can come on board with you for 6 to 18 months at a time and help you build your marketing team, help you build your marketing strategies, help you implement those marketing strategies, train your team, hire a team, whatever it might be. That's what I do with my client base now. Not all of them. Some of them just hire me as an agency, and I just do the agency work and I outsource the pieces. Just got word that we won some Addy Awards this year by doing just that. So I'm excited about that. So, the day group is still rolling, man. It's fun, and it's much more rewarding for me.
So how is the shift in outsourcing individual tasks or projects or something shifted from the internal office organization of 3 or 4 people within the 4 walls doing the same work? How's that lens shifted, or how does the role that you're now in shifted?
Yeah, I think there's a lot more time spent on vetting. How do we vet who's the right fit? One of the things that I tell my clients is I used to sell out of buckets. Back at the office, I'd have the graphic design bucket or the web development or the digital media or whatever. These are the buckets. And I've got pros that are really good at this. And this is what they do for a living, and I'm going to have to pay them. So I need you to buy this. Mm-hmm. So I'm selling what's in these buckets.
Right.
I got rid of the buckets, and I flipped it upside down, and I said, I don't have any buckets. All those big agencies you're talking to, they have to feed their people. I don't. All I have to do is help you meet your goals and your objectives. So what do you want to do? I may not be able to help you, and that's okay, but I might know somebody who can. And so tell me what your dreams are. Tell me how you want your life to run. So you run a business, that's great. Here's where I was when I was in your situation. Are you heading the same direction? Are you planning in the right direction? Are you looking at the right things, the same things that I was, or different, whatever? I'm able to kind of give them a peek into what's coming next. And as an executive coach, I became certified as an executive coach. I'm able to ask the questions and help guide them a little bit into not just how to advertise and market better, but how to become a better company. And the dirty little secret in advertising that nobody seems to really want to talk about, which I put in my book, is that advertising is pretty simple. But first you have to be a great company. And then advertising becomes just telling the truth. Mm-hmm. You got to do it in a creative and compelling way. But if you suck as a company, then you got to spin everything. You got to convince people to come by. You have to, it's the flavor of the month. What are people interested in? Well, let's provide it. Why don't you be you? Why don't you be great at what you do? And then just tell them you're here and you'd love to help. And that's the secret to really great advertising. So I shifted my gears and said, I want to help companies become great companies, not just do great advertising. That's the difference between the day group and everybody else out there. I am not somebody out there trying to sell you advertising. I'm trying to help your company be successful. And really, even more deeply, I want to help the business owner, entrepreneur, principal. I want to help them meet their goals and objectives with their life. And it may mean that they don't need to hire me, but I'm probably going to introduce them to somebody who they really do need to meet.
Yeah. It's recognizing where they're at and where they want to be and finding a fit to get them there. Yeah. Take these stepping stones to get where you're going to go. One of them could be me, one of them could not be me, etc.
True.
And
That's right.
I think that part, that comment about advertising, right? It's easy to advertise a great business that people love. Mm-hmm. And it also becomes so simple in how to deliver the message.
Yeah.
You don't have to get all creative with these camera angles and this storyline and say this script, say that script. Just, we're going to come and essentially document what you do. Mm-hmm. And that's what we're going to use to tell people, right? It becomes more brand awareness.
Yes.
And brand recognition.
Yeah.
Rather than trusting the brand and building trust within the within the audience.
That's right.
It's now saying, hey, here's what we do, here's why we're the best, and if you want us, just drop a line. Yeah. It's not, you need this, you need
I'm not trying
services.
to talk you into using my services.
Right.
You might know that you need our services if you knew more about us. Mm-hmm. And that's, I talk about this in the book a good bit too, is that being a great company is the key, and learning what that means for you is really big, because then it's just a shouting match and a race to the bottom, right? Everybody's the same. then the business goes to the one that shouts the most, spends the most money, and ad agencies love that stuff. I mean, they really do. They'll eat it up. But I'm going to walk in the door if an ad agency's pitching that stuff, and I'm going to say, hold on, why don't you be uniquely you? And let's figure out what that is. And then, I believe in being creative and compelling with the message, but I don't think we need to try to outshout the competition. And I'll say something else too, that I see this a lot out there, is like, tell your story, we'll help you tell your story. I'm a storyteller. I love the idea of storytelling. Storytelling is what separates most messages. If it's come by us because A, B, and C, great. But let me tell you a story. Now you've got my attention, right? I love storytelling, but the fact is, nobody cares about you. I mean, I talk to clients all the time, and they're like, we need you to help us tell our story. I'm like, I'm sorry, but your customers don't care about your story. They care about theirs. What are you going to do to reach them? How are you going to connect with them? Because they're passionate about what they're about to lose. They're passionate about what's the prospective gain. They're passionate about their family, their life, their kids. They're not passionate about you. So when you put a website out there on the internet, does it talk all about you? Because you're missing the point if it does. You need to find out what makes your customer crank and deliver that. And it's pretty simple when you start narrowing the focus like that. And that's a different message than you're hearing in a lot of places. I mean, I'm a big fan of Donald Miller and StoryBrand, and he's got the right idea. He just does it by telling stories. But he'll be the first person to tell you, look, your customer has an itch that you need to scratch. And you need to be the kind of company that can do that for them. And so you need to be their Yoda, not the hero. Let them be the hero. You be the Yoda. Let them be Luke Skywalker. You be Yoda, right? And so there are different ways to approach that same principle, but that is something that I've learned that I will always teach anyone that wants to hear, is that nobody cares about you, Mr. Client. I mean, I'm sorry to say that, but you're going to spend a ton of money talking about you, and we have this many branches, and we have this much history, and we're a third generation, and we won this many awards, and we. I'm sorry, the guy just needs his toilet fixed. He just needs it fixed now at a fair price.
Yeah.
For somebody he can trust to walk into his house without tracking something in, and you're going to deliver what you say you're going to deliver, and you're going to do it with a smile. That's what he wants. So how do we do that in a compelling and convincing way?
Thank you to our wonderful sponsor, Lake Men's Health Center with Our Lady of the Lake Physicians Group. Guys, I know it's tough to get out and go to the doctor. I know it's challenging to find time in our busy days, but I promise you, signing up to be a part of this group with Dr. Curtis Chastain and Dr. Tyler Boudreau, you won't regret it for several reasons, but most of those being the fact of the time it saves, where you're able to get in on the same day, get that appointment done, and spend that time you need to talk with them about what your health goals and concerns are, as well as ensuring that the financial investments you have, you will be able to live out and see those come to fruition. So if you're an investing guy, you know all about and planning for the future and investing in the future. There's no other more important thing to invest in than your health. Make sure you go check them out, Our Lady of the Lake Physicians Group Men's Health Center, and tell them Patty G sent you.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
And then somehow figure out how to, after you tell them where their itch can be scratched, why you're the one to scratch their itch.
Yeah. Well, by that time,
then you have that part. You gotta still have that story can still play a piece of the pie.
Yes.
It's not the whole pie, right?
That's very true.
It's a piece of the pie because yes, I need the toilet unclogged, but it's to your point exactly. I want to make sure the person that comes in is going to be reputable. I want to make sure they're not going to come in and track mud everywhere and do this and that. It's like, so how do you then craft the message of we can unclog your toilet, but we're the right people to unclog your toilet?
Yeah.
And it's like a balancing act almost.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, it is. And nowadays, I mean, if you just Google something or go to ChatGPT or one of the other LLMs or whatever, you can find a lot of information about people that will unclog a toilet, right? Mm-hmm. If they're going to come across me, if I've done some geo or SEO really well, they're going to come across me, and if I'm a plumber, and I'm going to be able to engage them on their terms, not on mine. Hopefully, that is enough to get them to say, there's an affinity I have for these people because they get me. So I'm going to call them first.
Yeah.
You know, and so it to me, I like the idea of warming up to a client based on their terms, and that's the lost art in where we are now with our transactional marketing world that we live in. Digital advertising is 99% transactional. It's what have you done for me lately? And that is another reason I do what I do instead of the full service agency thing now, because I just don't want to play that transactional game. It's like, okay, you got 30 days. How many sales can you make? Okay, 30 days is up. Nice job. It starts over. Your job is at risk again. I'm like, wow, okay, first of all, you said it, brand is important. And we've forgotten all about investing in the brand. We're investing in transactions and sales. And what are our KPIs? Well, our likes, our follows, our transactions, you know, that's literally what we're measuring. Well, are we measuring goodwill? Are we measuring how people think and feel when they see or hear our name? Because that's how I define a brand. A brand is everything people think or feel when they see or hear your name. That's your brand. My job is to help you build those right thoughts and feelings into your best prospects' minds and hearts. If I can do that, we both win. And so it's a different kind of prospect when you're talking about the brand, because it's really, you know, when I first started in the McDonald's world, in the agency business in McDonald's, I went to a convention, and for the first time I heard the guy say, I think it was Ed Renzi, was president of McDonald's, and he said, think like a brand, act like a retailer. That's what we need to do. And I was like, what's a brand? I mean, I know the cattle brand, but what's a brand? I hadn't heard that. I mean, I was working at an ad agency. I hadn't heard that before. What does he mean, brand? And it fascinated me. And I started studying brand from that point on. What does the McDonald's brand mean? What is, you know, how is it built? What are the elements of brand? And so that's what I used as a template, if you will, to build every brand since then, is having a lot of those elements in place. And so when it comes to the world we live in now, which is deeply transactional, I think we're forgetting the brand. I learned somewhere back, I don't know if these numbers still hold up, but at some point, it was about 10 years ago, I read an article. I wish I'd have saved it. It was a research article. 93% of your potential audience is interested in the product or service that you're selling at any given time. So if I have a target audience, and I'm saying I want adults 25, 54 years old, and I'm advertising to them, I'm sorry, I got that backwards. I said 93%. Only 7% is interested in your product at any given time. 93% is not. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So if I advertise, hey, I want to unclog your toilet, only 7% have clogged toilets at any given time. Or if I'm selling tennis shoes, only 7% are looking for shoes right now. Why am I spending 100% of my budget on those now buyers? But yet we live in this transactional world, and that's all we're doing, is we're spending all this money on transactions on that 7%. 93% of them are going to buy tomorrow or the next day or the next day. Why don't we invest a little money in the brand to build a reputation, to build trust, like you mentioned earlier? That's how you really build a brand and build future buyers, not just now buyers. So that 93% just gets skipped when we don't pay attention to the customer and to the client and what they're looking for. So it's not just transaction, it's brand.
So, and what are some of the brands you're seeing that are kind of doing it right? You know, that have recognized the value of the brand, what they have. Because ultimately, in my eyes, like when you think of a brand, it's what do we want the customers to experience? What do we want them to feel? What memories do we want them to have come to mind? How do we want their presence within whatever it is to what do you want their experience to be, either consuming, wearing, enjoying XYZ our products?
Yeah.
So like what are some brands that come to mind that have recognized the value there and are either doing it right or on the cusp of doing it right?
Yeah. That's a good question. I honestly, it sounds funny, but I just don't pay a lot of attention to the noise out there. You know, I don't watch a lot of television and broadcast. I watch some OTT stuff, over the top streaming. I don't read magazines. I do spend a good bit of time on the internet for the stuff that I'm interested in. I would say that there are a couple of really good luxury brands that do really, really well because they don't push typically. I like what Mercedes-Benz does. I really enjoy their creativity. I'm a fan of Mercedes-Benz, the brand and the vehicle. That's one of the premier brands in the world, you know. McDonald's was the one that really, I used to love that. I mean, they used to grab you by the heartstrings and then sell you French fries later. You know? Yeah. They just, you know, waddle, waddle, quack, quack with the little girls going in the McDonald's all in a row in the rain. And it was just, they would really pull on your heartstrings and advertise, look, this is really about people. It's not about the food. It's about the people. Mm-hmm. I think there are some brands out there that kind of segment their advertising. They'll say, okay, this is going to be very brand oriented. This is going to be very transactional oriented advertising. So we're going to sell Chick-fil-A sandwiches. You know, we're going to talk about the value of the Chick-fil-A sandwich and how, you know, the food. But really, they're going to also show, you know, the two chairs next to each other, and they're going to have the story of the person who came and they were by themselves and they were lonely, and, you know, somebody got them some employee came in.
Oh yeah, their real customers campaign.
Yeah, the real customers campaign. Yeah, they'll do those kind of heartstrings.
The red sofa or the white sofa, whatever it is.
Yeah, exactly. Right. You know, I love that stuff because that makes me want to trust them. I mean, if they're really like that, I trust it, you know, and I'll give them a shot if they are, you know. But transactionally speaking, you know, I can get a chicken sandwich anywhere. Yeah, you know.
And then their unwavering commitment to maintaining 1/7 of every week closed.
Yeah.
Right. Like the fact that you can't pay them to open on Sundays, you can't rent out something on Sundays. It's like Sundays they're closed. It's like any other business that was intentionally closed 52 days a year. Yeah, it's tough to compete.
They're beating us with one hand tied behind their back.
Yeah,
I mean, and that's their day too, because at the post-church crowd, you know, they would go to Chick-fil-A after church.
It would be closed. Insane, you know. Like you've got people making whole comedic bits around getting the black market Chick-fil-A sandwiches on Sunday.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
It's become a thing. Like when you have people that on their own start to create this like subculture of one of the elements of your organization, like you've got a brand.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's really fun to see when that happens. When people can begin to advocate for a brand and they're not being paid to do it. You know, and that was the beauty of social media in the beginning when we first started. I mean, in the beginning, it was really
before marketers
people connecting to yeah, it was about people connecting with people. But there was a time there where social media really helped to advocate for brands. I guess that happens now as well, but it's really sandwiched in there very tightly between transactions. I mean, you got to have a TikTok shop now. If you're selling anything, you have a TikTok shop. You know? And so it's a confusing marketing and sales world out there for sure. You know?
Yeah, and now it's, you know, you've got the world of the influencers on the social media side, and you know it's who can we get to then let them pull at the heartstring of the consumers, right? And now it's okay, if we're going to craft the brand and we're going to use this type of influential style marketing, we've got to get people that fit the demographic of our target audience, because we want them to be seen wearing, consuming, enjoying our products. Yeah. And then it makes other people say, well, hang on, like they do it, I want to do it. Right. And so now it's almost like this, we've almost created like this FOMO approach to marketing where you see all these other people doing X, Y, and Z with ABC Co. If you're not, well, you're missing out. Yeah. You know? Yeah. Exactly. You don't have to buy it, but all these people are. Right. So it's like that's almost reversed of like, wait, you need your toilet unclogged. It's like, well, we're going to come and help solve that problem for you. Yeah. Instead, it's look at all these people with unclogged toilets. Don't you wish yours was unclogged too?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, you watch people walking out flush.
Yeah. Look at this. Look at this. Flush. Yeah.
People walking out flush, one after another. No problem. Yeah. You know,
you could be here too if you wanted. You know,
this could be you. Yeah. You know, call us. You know, yeah. It is interesting to view it, but that's a great question. You know, who's doing it really well? I don't know that I've tracked anybody that's done it really well that's impressed me over time, instantaneously. But over time, you see, brands like Mercedes-Benz doing it really well. You see, I like the subtle approach. I think there's, I like how State Farm does what they do in their advertising. Not because I have 2 family members that are State Farm agents, but but I like how they're fun, they're funny, they're relevant. They put us in situations, and then every now and then they'll come out with a commercial that pulls on the heartstrings, and it kind of makes sense. It's like, oh, that's why you're here, And then of course when they deny your claim, I'm like, okay, all that's got erased.
Yeah, you're not here anymore.
I'm mad at the brand, but I think they do a good job. I think they really do a good job of stating their case and being different. And I like the idea that, they've got the local agent to take care of you and to build a relationship, but they've also got the app. Mm-hmm. You can do everything online, And I still call my agent and talk to the people in the office when I have a question. And I'll get on the app if I need to, but I still will pick up the phone and make a call because I'm old, so.
Well, and they have to meet their consumers where they're at.
Sure.
So, talking about like how do people have a good brand, and that customer service level generally comes down to the brand, right? Yeah. How well are you going to be able to process a claim? Are you familiar with the show The Office?
Oh yeah, Michael Scott.
How many times have you seen it? Is a question. Yeah. Well, there's one of the episodes that still to this day to me is like such a great representation of customer service and brand reputation being put on the line, right? When Jim and Dwight go to pitch that office, that company, and they're sitting in the office and they're going through the shtick, and Dwight's like, "Can I borrow your phone?" And like he calls so and so company. He's like going through 7, 6, like, okay, you want to talk to representative, press 4, and he's like pressing everything, and he's like, "This is the guy you're with right now," and then he's like picks up the phone and calls their office, and like Kelly answers, and he's like, "This is us. Which one? We're not selling you here.
Yeah, yeah.
Which one's going to better suit your needs?
There you
And
go.
it's like that little segment just sticks to me when it comes to like marketing. It's like, put your brand on the line and your reputation of we can solve it better than XYZ.
Yeah, and it's interesting to me because we're coming to this inflection point, I think, where automation is the norm, and the more normal automation and AI begin to take over the boring and the mundane of our lives. And shout out to Disrupt Ready. I do a little bit of work with Henry Hayes and his team at Disrupt Ready. And the boring, tedious, and mundane is the world where AI is going to be living and does live. The more that becomes commonplace, what becomes the premium? The face-to-face interaction, the water cooler conversation, the soft skills. And those are the things that people are going to gravitate towards because they can call up anywhere and get an auto, get a bot to do the work that needs to be done. But I really believe that we're about to enter into an age where soft skills are going to be recognized as a premium, and those that really know how to master communicating with other people are going to do very, very well.
Absolutely.
And it's always been the case.
But it has always been the case, but now it's going to be coming out, right? And so I mean, I look at it in our field where I'm looking at resumes for people to hire, and and generally it's okay. What's your educational background? What are your technical skills that you've got? Great, that's super important. Everything. But what were your jobs before you got into that technical field? Okay. Oh, you were in hospitality. Okay, you were a busser, you were a server, you were a hostess. Okay, you were a bartender. Okay, how long were you? Oh, you were not a cyclical host, or you're not a cyclical, server or a bartender. You were there for 3 or 4 years.
Right.
You've got a set of skills. You've seen so many different circumstances.
Yeah.
If you were if you were in hospitality for years, and like to me, I look at that and I said that's a positive. Because I know if you come in here, you can probably hold a conversation. Yeah. Because you've had to. Yeah. Over the 2 or 3 years you were in service industry, you had to hold a conversation with somebody, whether it was good, bad, ugly, doesn't matter. You had to have a conversation. Absolutely. But if you got somebody that's all technical skills, great. There's a job for you somewhere, but I can't put you client facing.
Right.
Right now.
Sure.
I've got to then coach you through those soft skills and get you up to
Yeah.
speed.
I have talked to CEOs, COOs of fairly large companies, definitely large by Baton Rouge standards. And I've asked them, I talk to them about marketing stuff, and they'll say, look, I'll be honest with you, I can get marketing from a lot of places. What I can't get is I can't get my people to understand how to talk to the client. I said, tell me more. The vernacular now, say more. Have you noticed that's changed? We never used to say more. Now we say more. I would say, tell me more about that. What do you mean?
Yeah, go on, continue.
Go on, continue. Yeah, that's say more. I'm really into the Gen Z thing. I'm learning. He says, look, we have some brilliant engineers that are critical on the job, and I need them in the meeting because they have to present their work. But I'm like white knuckled through the entire thing because they're going to say something really stupid, or they're going to embarrass themselves and the company, or, it's going to be snip and tuck, but I got to do it. I don't know what the solution is. I can't teach them. And so I'm thinking maybe we can teach them some. Maybe we haven't started to teach them the right way.
Welcome to the brand new Falia mobile app. We took all the same tech that's helped hundreds of people sell their homes themselves and packed it into an easy-to-use app for your phone. When you download the Falia mobile app on either the Apple or Android App Store, you'll immediately be able to see the power of this game-changing tool. From the seller's dashboard, you can navigate to all the information that you need. We intentionally separated everything into key groups, such as tasks to be completed, buyer leads for your listing, and contact information for everyone involved through closing. When you get an offer on your property, you can simply review and respond all within the app. No matter where you are in the world, you'll be able to monitor everything that's going on with your property from listed to sold. It's truly the power of Falia in the palm of your hand. Download the app and see for yourself. Falia, it's real estate reimagined.
So it's a very different world. And so we're trying to solve that problem by helping them to communicate differently. Yeah. And so it's a big challenge in the business world for sure.
Yeah, and it's almost like you think back to the stories of, well, I used to work on cars for sure, or like I used to be all the time, be handy and everything. Okay, what would you do? Well, I would just hold the flashlight for my dad. And it's like, okay, well, you were getting the job to a certain point, and then you stopped, and someone else took it over.
Yeah,
it's that generation of
interesting.
You can't do it right. Let me finish it for you.
Yeah,
and it's like now that's coming in the workplace.
Yeah,
and you say, hey, I need you to handle X, Y, and Z, and they go, okay, and they get about 33% of the way through with it, and they go, okay, I think I'm done. And you're like, well, there's a whole gap you're missing here.
Yeah, yeah.
Like you're missing 66% of the job, and it's not just like one or two folks. It's like a generation.
It's a generation
of people that get stuff to a certain point, and then for some reason they hit like a mental block or a physical block even, and they say, I don't know what to do past here, and it's then going back to those problem-solving skills.
Yeah,
it's like the parents or whatever were sitting there, or the teachers were sitting there watching you try to get that triangle in that square hole, and they were finally just like, no, look, the triangle hole's over here. Instead of sitting there and be like, nope, it's not going to work. Nope, it's not going to work. 100 times later, it's not going to work. And then finally they go, oh, look, you found the triangle hole. Good job.
Yeah.
You found it. I didn't show it to you. It's like, what point do we look back at that far and say, did we create that generation of here's the triangle hole, go to the hole, and not like, no, you got to find it. You got to figure it out.
Yeah, there was a trend for a while there where, and it's been a while now, and probably these are adults. These kids that I'm referring to are now adults, where we were told, don't tell your children no, just redirect their attention. Don't tell them no, that's not correct, because it'll hurt their psyche, it'll hurt their self-esteem. Redirect their attention to something else that's positive. So you can see where doing that over and over again, they're not used to having to work a problem. They're not used to failure. They're not used to frustration. They don't know how to handle that kind of stimulus. And so they are entitled snowflakes, if that's the case.
Yeah.
And so getting into the work world, they're having to learn that lesson when they should have learned it when they were 6. And so another issue that we're dealing with in the workplace is because this is the most hyper-connected world that we've ever lived in. I mean, of all of human history, we're the most hyper-connected now, and we will be more hyper-connected tomorrow than we are today. but we're the least connected interpersonally than we've ever been. And part of the problem is because of the connectivity. We will substitute a phone or a social media account for a real relationship. You know, we've defaulted. I remember as a young parent, my wife and I made a decision that we were not going to raise our kids in front of the TV. We were going to get them to do activities and solve puzzles. Even from the baby stage in playpens, we would put them in a playpen with 1 or 2 toys, not 12 or 15, because we wanted them to learn how to use those toys and be creative with those toys. And as they began to, you know, we kind of monitor it and say, okay, they've done a lot. Let's introduce a new toy, a different toy, a new challenge. And it forced them to be content, but also to solve a different problem on a regular basis. One of the little things that we did that I think have paid big dividends for our kids. We have 3 grown kids now. One's a doctor, one's a lawyer, and one of them is in marketing. So, so no accounting for the third one. But no, they're all great kids and well adjusted. But I do think that there are some challenges with the way that we brought our kids up, my wife and I included, in that have maybe played into some of this snowflakiness. You know, it's okay to, you know, without telling them no, without punishing them, or without giving them the consequences. I don't want to use the word punish because that's not accurate, but without consequences for their actions, they don't learn. And I think sometimes they're completely uncomfortable with being uncomfortable. And we have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable on a lot of occasions in order to get the work done. It's not fun staying late. You know, I mean, quiet quitting. Remember that? A couple of years ago, lots of quiet quitting going on. I'm not giving any more than is absolutely the minimum required. Why? Because I don't perceive that they're giving me more. So that's an attitude that Gen Z carries even today. The legacy leader is going, I'm not promoting them until they show me that they're worth it. I'm not going to give them a raise until I see the benefit. I'm not going. And so there's a stalemate, right? Well, why don't we have a conversation and saying, what do you want? Hey, Gen Z employee, digital native, what do you want? Yeah. Well, I want to be significant. I want to contribute. I want to have value here. I want to be recognized for the value I provide. Great. What value is that you provide? And what value is it that you want to provide? Okay, here's the pathway to that. Are you good with this? What parts of this pathway do you think are not in your wheelhouse? Where do you need my help? How can I help you achieve this? Okay, here's some steps and some pathways to getting there. Are we on the same page now? Yes, we are. Okay, great. That is oversimplified, but that's the conversation we need to be having at work. And too many of us legacy leaders are just hiring these digital natives, and 12 to 17 months later, we let them go because it's not working. We don't see the ROI. And shame on us. You know, they're brilliant. They just haven't been brought up the same way. I mean, whose responsibility is it to help this generation function and to succeed? Well, it's first theirs, but secondly, it's ours. We hired them. We raised them. Let's get them on board, and let's train them up the way that they should go. And let's see what happens if we actually communicate on a different level.
Yeah, it's fascinating stuff.
Yeah, I hope so. When I wrote the book, I actually set out to write a book about transactions versus brand, like we talked about earlier. And I realized as in my research, I'm staring a problem in the face that nobody's talking about right now. And that problem is that we speak very different languages because everything is digital. Everything is just instantaneous. And to build, you know, because I talked about brands and transactions. And so I was like, who's doing this, you know, transactional marketing? Who is, well, wow, branding is kind of unfamiliar to a lot of the younger generation coming up. They don't fully understand the whole brand concept. And as I began to dive more into that, I realized there's a gulf between the two generations. I mean, often you have anywhere from a boomer down to a millennial. Boomers, Gen X, millennials are the boss. And here's this digital native Gen Z coming in. You know, and you're Gen Z today if you're 13 on the young end and 29 on the top end. So that is the workforce. By the year 2030, 1/3 of the American workforce will be Gen Z. That's who's going to be working in your office. So you better figure out how to communicate with them. And so that's what I hope to help people do.
Absolutely. So before we get you out of here, we have a set list of questions we ask every guest.
Yeah.
First one is, what is something you did as a kid you wish you could still do today?
Play baseball. I loved baseball. And I guess I could go out and play, but is there a 60-year-old baseball league? I don't know.
Ancient athletes.
Yeah, they're all 35. They're running around.
The definition of ancients changed.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
You've done a lot over your career. You've worked for organizations. You've built organizations. You've shrunken organizations with intention. What are like 3 lessons you've kind of learned along the way?
3 lessons. Wow. Trust my instincts. Number 1, probably. There are a lot of times when I felt I needed to do something and I talked myself out of it because of other people's opinions, because I didn't do my homework. I thought I was proof texting by, coming up with reasons that weren't really real. I was afraid that I would be taking too much risk. If I had trusted my instinct, I would have been a lot further along, a lot faster. That's a big one. To trust my instinct. And number 2, I think is very close to it, is expect and to expect failure and to welcome it. And I don't mean that in a let's go celebrate, we screwed up. I mean, welcome it in terms of the value that it brings to the big picture. When I fail, when things don't go my way, there's so much value in that I've learned looking back. I wish I would have paid more attention to the failures instead of trying to hide them or sweep them under a rug or downplaying them. That would probably be a close second. And I think the third thing I think is to protect what matters. And what matters is my time, my personal time with me, with my God, with my wife, with my kids, to make sure that is sacred, and nothing comes in the way of that. And if I had to do it over again, I would have created a little bit of a different cadence. By the grace of God, all is well, but in a lot of cases it wasn't, and in a lot of people's lives it's not. So Those are the 3 big ones.
I like it. What is something you love about Baton Rouge?
I think we talked about it a little bit earlier. I love the deep relationships. It's easy to get to know people quickly in Baton Rouge. They're open to relationships. People will stop and have a conversation if they don't know you. They seem eager to learn about others, which is very rare. I mean, if you do any amount of traveling, it exists in other places, but just to this level, it's just different. There are some downsides to that too. I'd love to see Baton Rouge branch out a little bit and think a little differently, take some lessons from other places. You don't always have to be with family on the weekend. It's not always important that every aunt and uncle, that you see them every time. I'm not knocking family. We have a huge family, but I think we have a lot to offer the world. And if we'd spread out a little bit, be willing to listen to them and speak into their lives, I think it would be a lot better. We have a lot in Baton Rouge that we can offer. There's a ton that we can offer others, but we have to open up our mindset and stop being so myopic about, it's about Baton Rouge. Well, it is, but what do we have that we can get out there that helps everyone be better, not just us?
Mm-hmm. And for the final question, what can I do to help you?
Man, talk about my book. I've been doing speaking engagements. I love doing it, and people are really engaging with this concept of the marketing gap and this conversation about Gen Z and legacy leaders and digital natives. I appreciate anyone who can point me in that direction, because it's a message that I have seen benefit others, and it's really exciting to see people start to talk and come up with solutions. I love Gen Z. I love I raised 3 of them. I love that generation. I think the way that they think like an iPhone works. And my generation, I'm the last of the boomers, maybe first of Gen X. We think like old school. We think like analog. I've had to adapt. I'm a digital adapter. They're digital natives. And when we get in a room and talk, I have so much I can learn. I'm fascinated with the way that they think. But I also think that they can learn from me. And when that happens, when they admit, yeah, I can learn a few things, it's magic. And I'm excited about that. So that's how you can help. Just help me get the word out that there is a solution to this problem. The problem's going to get worse, not better.
Oh yeah.
So we need solutions.
Yeah. Well, thank you for coming on. I appreciate
man, thank
your
you
time.
for having me. Yeah, this
is a
is
lot
great.
of fun, man.
This is a cool setup, man. You're doing a great job. I love this podcast. I love all my peeps too. I see Max on here from Loop Theory. I see Ned Fasulo on here. Man, great stuff. Love it.
We keep it rocking and rolling every single week.
Yeah,
man.
that's awesome.
So thank you
Good
for
deal.
coming on. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
And
Thanks
thank
for
you,
having me.
everybody else, for listening or watching, whatever platform you're consuming the show on. Stay tuned in. Make sure you're subscribed. Help us spread the word out there. Share the show and kind of get us out there about in the community. And we'll keep sharing stories. So we'll see y'all next week.
Don't want a complication.